I will start by asking you to join me in our appreciation for mowing the choir. That was beautiful. So I'm going to give you a little insight into this whole ministry thing. In addition to the secret handshake, what they taught me when I was finishing up seminary is that this is known as the Sermon on the Mount. So this whole internship thing is new to all of us here. For me, it's about learning and growing and getting to understand how different congregations work. For you, it's having to get used to a new face in the pulpit, one who doesn't know anything about you, and today has the audacity to stand here and try to tell this congregation why they should be pledging. And on top of that, why you should give more than you have in the past. I mean, let's be honest, it's only my second time here. What could I possibly know about you? How you function, what you're about. What meaningful story could I tell you that would encourage everyone here in the building or online to give a little bit more? A few weeks ago, I was in Chicago, in Meadville, Lombard, where I go to seminary, and one of the assignments in my class that is part of my internship experience was to look in the UUA archives, which are housed at Meadville, and learn about my internship sites. So they gave me folders from coastal Georgia and Brunswick and here. And I did that. And for this congregation, there were two folders. The first one for the original formation of the fellowship in 1974. And there were actual, this will click with some of you, mimeographed pages. Purple, the smell was gone, but the purple is still there. And the second folder was regarding this version of the church. And oh, by the way, if anybody ever wants to see them, I took pictures and I have copies of all of them. And it told me about how you started, who the founding members were and the dates, and all of that cool, intricate stuff that tells you about a congregation, and nothing that told me about who you are. So for this sermon on stewardship for this congregation, I will admit, standing here in front of you, I haven't got a clue. And okay, yes, I've been stewardship chair of my home congregation, but that doesn't qualify me to tell you how to run the UU Fellowship of Statesboro. So I'm really not sure what to tell you. Except every now and then something happens in our lives that we can look at and say, oh yeah, this is one of those not so coincidences that happens to us. And I had that just a couple weeks ago. As I said, I was in Chicago this past, a few weeks ago, and I arrived home on Thursday, the 31st of August. I arrived back in Atlanta, picked up the dog from the pet sitter, got home, and collapsed. One thing you should know about me is I'm a creature of habit. I'm an early riser. I get up around 5 or so, and I turn on the news to check on the weather and the traffic because I commute in and out of Atlanta 3 days a week. And then at 6 o'clock, I turn on ESPN to catch up on the scores and the stories from the night before. And Friday, September 1st, I got up, turned on the news, lazed around, and a little after 6, turned to ESPN and was greeted by a message that said, the Walt Disney Company has removed their programming from Spectrum, which creates hardship for our customers. We offered Disney a fair deal, yet they are demanding an excessive increase. And it went on. No ESPN. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. How could Randy being inconvenienced by ESPN being off the air, by the way, during the opening weekend of college football, be in any way connected to our stewardship campaign? But hear me out. Yes, it was a little inconvenient for me that I wasn't able to watch college football today and see all the predictions and the myriad of different games that were available. I mean, it's a big reason, I'll be honest, that I still have cable TV. But I also realized it wasn't the only reason. I suddenly found myself seeking out other things to watch and other channels like HGTV and movies that I had never heard of. And while they wouldn't have been my first choice, I actually enjoyed them and in a couple of cases learned something new. It also made me realize that what Spectrum was doing wasn't about me. It was about the greater good for all the folks who get cable and internet from me. I mean, it would be easy for me to just sit back and say, go ahead, pay Disney. I'll pay a little more every month because it's important to me. But to others who could not give two hoots about ESPN or Disney, well, what about them? What about the hardship it might cause them to pay that little more for something that didn't mean anything to them? And that brings me back here in stewardship and what makes this place, well, this place. I tuned in a couple weeks ago to listen to Jane's sermon on banned books, which was wonderful. I think you all will agree. And she closed the service that day by saying, and I'm paraphrasing, sometimes the message may connect with you, and sometimes it doesn't interest you. But come anyway, because we need you here. And I couldn't agree more, but I'll take it one step further. Maybe you are one of those folks who could care less about the sermon and come only for a cup of coffee, maybe a cookie, and a time of fellowship with like-minded people. Or you come because this space offers a respite from your otherwise chaotic life. Or maybe you need this place for reasons I will never know and can't comprehend, but you need this space, these people, just to get through another week. Any reason any of you come here is the single most important reason to make sure we have this place. Yes, it's important to make sure we have the funds to pay Jane and the utility bills. Those things are important and vital, but there is a reason even more important to me. It's to make sure that you know we have this place, this safe space to be with each other. A space where we can grow together, and laugh together, and cry together, to mourn together, and find joy together. Now, you should know, a couple of weeks ago, I paid my pledge to my home congregation for this year because of what that place has meant to me and my children when they were growing up. And today, I stand here to tell you I will be pledging to this congregation. And I do it not because I need this place to be around the next 2 years at my internship site, which, by the way, I do, but because of you. I want this space to be here for you. This space, this wonderful place, is bigger than me. Here's something I will do from time to time when I'm in the pulpit, so get used to it. I ask you to look around, and I mean it. Look around. Look at the faces sitting next to you, the faces looking back at you. Some are faces of people you love. Some are faces that you have seen but really want to get to know better. Let's be honest, because that's what we do here. Some are faces of those we don't necessarily care if we see or not. But those are the faces of the people who need this place. And even if you don't agree with them, even if you know you'll never see eye to eye with them, we all need this place to be here. As I said, I was the stewardship chair for my home congregation a couple years ago, and I stood in a pulpit and delivered a sermon much like this one, and I want to share some of the words from that one that I think apply here. Now, I'm guessing many of you are thinking, this sermon isn't about stewardship. Where's the big push to ask for money? Or as far as a hard sell, it's not coming. At least not today. I'm not going to stand here and tell you all the things you already know. I'm not going to threaten you with laying off staff or cutting programs. You know what's needed, you know what's involved, you know who we are. Feed the hungry, heal the sick, help the poor and homeless, being a welcoming congregation who cares about all people. Isn't that what we have professed we are all about? Isn't that exactly our mission? It doesn't matter if the words that inspire you come from Jesus, from Muhammad, or the Buddha, or even your great Aunt Gloria. These are the things we stand for in our mission as a community, in the principles of our denomination, and in the hearts of our members. Now, you don't need a hard sell. You don't need groveling or begging. You know what we need, and you know that all that we've been through. This place has been here for us during the good times and the bad times. This place has saved lives. So there you have it. My first sermon to you, and I'm asking you to take seriously your pledge this year, not for me, for Jane, but for everyone around you. It's about making that seismic change that we talk about from me to we. And maybe, just maybe, it's about the cookies. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.